Senator, I'm glad you brought up Joe's guilt, because it's one thing for Hunter Biden to purchase a snub-nosed 38 when he's high on meth. That's obviously against the law. That's his problem. But all this bribery stuff, this is Joe Biden's bribery. Nobody's bribing Hunter Biden for anything. Hunter Biden has nothing to sell, no influence, no skills. These are Joe Biden's crimes. Hunter works for Joe, not vice versa.
No, that's exactly right. Hunter's business was selling favors from daddy. If Hunter's name were Hunter Smith, Hunter wouldn't have a business. He doesn't have skills that anyone would pay for. His only skill is getting daddy to do what people pay him millions of dollars to get daddy to do. And it's important to remember, look, that one of the key talking points of Democrats and the corporate media is Hunter is a troubled soul. He struggled with substance abuse. All of that is, by all appearances, true. And everyone knows family or friends or loved ones who struggled with substance abuse. This would not be an issue of national concern and public concern if Hunter were just some poor troubled soul dealing with addiction. The reason this matters is these allegations are of corruption by Joe Biden when he was vice president of the United States, and now he's president of the United States. And specifically, the allegation is that Joe Biden solicited and received millions of dollars of bribes from corrupt foreign nationals. That is a grave offense. It's a grave criminal offense, if true, and the evidence keeps piling up, demonstrating that it is true.
Senator, it's hard to find two more pieces of rancid commie trash than the Washington Post and the New York Times, and yet both of those publications have put out calls for Joe Biden not to run. Pretty eye-opening in about the last 48 hours. Do you think Democrats are done with this guy?
Not yet. They're thinking about it. They're starting to get a little bit nervous. They're also nervous because he's older than Methuselah. And he can't seem to find his shoes in the morning. And, you know, I would say he's Mr. Magoo, but I've been reminded that unless you're almost as old as Methuselah, you don't remember who Mr. Magoo was. But his mental diminishment is serious. And so I do think some Democrats are getting nervous about that. And so are they pulling the escape hatch yet? Not entirely. But I think the risk is not zero that in the next 10 months, they jettison Joe Biden and try to parachute someone else in at the last minute. And I think the biggest risk of that happening would be at the Democrat convention next summer. And I think there's a real possibility, depending on the degree of legal peril Joe is in, depending on the degree of evidence that is piled up against him, and depending on just how diminished his mental state continues, I think there's some real chance at the convention next summer they try to jettison Joe.
Oh, that is quite a thing. So I couldn't even imagine Democrats and the knives being out with each other if that happens at a convention. Conventional wisdom, pardon the pun, would say the vice president would be the likely one, but nobody likes Dome. Nobody likes this woman at all. Do they slip Gavin Newsom in there? I'm honestly curious, just the political hypothetical here. Who do they try to get on that stage?
Oh, look, I think without Joe Biden, I think the top four contenders are Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, and Elizabeth Warren. I think in an open primary, I actually think Elizabeth Warren wins that. I think she is the closest to the id of the current Democrat Party. And I actually think Elizabeth Warren could very well have won last time if Bernie Sanders hadn't been in there as well. And Bernie and Elizabeth split the crazy commie section of the Democrat Party, which gave an avenue for Joe Biden to come in there. Look, I also think there's some real risk. It is a complicated thing for Democrats to pick among those four, and it could be a really nasty fight. I think there's some real possibility Democrats try to parachute a Michelle Obama in there. And that would be the one candidate they could pretty easily tell the other four, sit down, she's going to do this instead.
For too long, we've been led to believe that communism is a thing of the past. But the truth is, communism is alive. It's here, and it's infiltrating every aspect of American life. Introducing the Anti-Communist Manifesto by Jesse Kelly, the practical guide for patriots ready to defend our nation from its most dangerous enemy. Discover the shocking extent of communist infiltration in our education system, their alliance with American corporations, and the twisted truth behind environmentalism. This eye-opening book exposes the true face of communism and empowers you to fight back. Join the fight for freedom. Pre-order your copy of the Anti-Communist Manifesto today by going to jessekelleybook.com.